Hello and welcome to another Office 365 Hours. My name is Christian Buckley. I'm the Microsoft Go-to-Market Director at AvePoint, a Microsoft MVP and a Regional Director. And I'm joined today by Anj Cerbolles, a Business Applications MVP and a Productivity Analyst focused on Microsoft 365 and the Power Platform. Good morning, Anj.
Good morning and good evening to you.
Yeah, it's very early morning for you. Thanks for getting up early. Maybe you're an early riser. I don't know, but it's early. Today, we're discussing the topic of the evolution of Microsoft lists. And so I see a lot of questions that about Microsoft lists through my Ask Me Anything panel discussions. So a lot of questions that come through. I'm interested to hear your perspective on where we've been, where we're going with lists. And so why don't we get started with the first question? So what is the background? What is the history of Microsoft lists and how did you get started in it?
How did I get started? It was back in 2012 after I graduated. I jumped into my first job working as I think I'm a developer at that time, but I don't consider myself as a developer. So what I did is my previous manager told me to study SharePoint, and I don't know about SharePoint at that time, and I start configuring SharePoint server and build some forms using InfoPath. And then that's how I fell in love with SharePoint. And so previously, when you want to customize a specific form in SharePoint list, you need to inject a JavaScript on that one, or it could use InfoPath to customize it. And it's either customizes it in InfoPath or open it in a SharePoint designer and do some scripting there. So it was difficult at that time until now. The Microsoft list evolution is so easy to and flexible to customize things right now, which is fun.
Well, just for your history, so a lot of people that I know that are very involved with and passionate about Microsoft lists have a very similar background where they come kind of through the SharePoint ranks and they started doing that. And it's, kind of everything, it's kind of the fundamentals of SharePoint. Everything is either a list or around a document. It's a list or a library. But you have a lot of people that kind of came up through those ranks similar to that. But how much does a person really need to know about SharePoint in the back end or Power Platform and PnP, the patterns and practices? Like, how much do you really have to be on the technical side of things to get the most out of Microsoft lists? Or do you? Can you be a business user and brand new to the space and be functional and get value out of using Microsoft lists?
Yeah, previously, yes, you need to be technical, but now everyone, even the business users, can easily create their own list within their. It's only for a simple tracking. They can do it on their own, or if they want to share it with the team, it's so much easier now compared previously. And when it comes to customizing the forms, just show or hide a certain field. Now it's easy, and all the reference. It's because all the information is already in online, especially Doc and Learns. It's easy for the business users now to kind of search the things that they want to as well. So yeah.
Well, it's like now that if I want to learn how to do anything, the first place I go to look to find instructions is actually YouTube. Is there a video that of somebody walking through? But there's tons of that kind of content. I mean, from yourself and other experts that are out, MVPs that are in, out in the community that are creating content that walk through those basic scenarios. But I have to say that one of the things that I loved about when the list launch happened, again, I was using SharePoint list, but when the Microsoft list launched, I'm a big Teams user and advocate, were the templates. So, to go and get started. One of the first questions that I heard, though, is people say, well, wait a second, but I'm limited. I can only use kind of these examples. Like, well, no, it's just an example. It's a template. You can build whatever you need. But I love that Microsoft, with their new product launch, went out live with a lot of that documentation and those templates.
Yes. Also, it's when building the Microsoft list now, it's not only you can start from the blank template, but also it has already a template that they could use, like issue tracker, I think asset management, event itinerary, employee onboarding, everything. It's already there in the Microsoft list that you could open up, and then you just select the template that you want, and from there it already has a schema that you need, where you can modify it afterwards if it doesn't match your business needs, but at least you have already a starting point to build your Microsoft list.
Of course, you can always go and build it from scratch if you've had some experience, if you know what you're trying to build. But I mean, I'm one of those people that, the way that I learn, I much prefer seeing a working example and then go in, kind of look at under the covers, look at the back end. How's this working? How's this functioning? I want to tweak this. I want to change something. I want to add to it. And so it's, 75% of what's already there, but I want to make it unique. And that's the first thing that I did with those templates, and just going out and experimenting.
Yes, that's right.
So what are some of the common scenarios that you see? I mean, how are people leveraging Microsoft List today in your interactions and with your customers?
Currently, in my most of my experience is more on the asset management, where they check if this laptop is already expired or not, or is it already time to upgrade. That's the common scenarios that I have. Or sometimes checking, I think I just implemented previously more on checking the machine, if it's time to go to the supplier or not, or is it's more an approval process,
right?
Something like that.
I think we've all built something just like that, with an intake form, or to add the information in, ownership of that, to get reminders, and to get notifications, also to send out when an asset, when it's lived its life cycle and the employee is eligible to go and swap out a laptop, for example, get a newer laptop. Things like that. Every company has that. So yeah, that's a very common scenario.
Yes. Or request forms, leave request form, something like that.
Well, another way people are doing that, some of the first uses are, well, let me back up. So I came up through the ranks. I got involved with SharePoint through project and portfolio management. So that was kind of my way. Been involved with developing portals and things, but collaboration technology, my entrance was really through project and portfolio management. And can you tell me, like, still the number one project management tracking tool in the world is? It's Microsoft Excel.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
People use Excel for that. But so one of the first questions is kind of the ongoing joke about Excel. But that, people then wanted to do, it's like, well, hey, could I go and utilize Microsoft Lists for doing kind of project management tracking? But then that begs the question of then what's the purpose of having Planner, or when would you use lists versus Planner? And of course, Planner has the integration with To Do, so you want to have that capability. So when do you use which tool? Or I guess which tool to use when?
I think To Do is more on a personal task checklist. And then the planner is more on teams collaboration task. But then once you completed the task, you can't see it anymore. And I mean, it's completed. It's like, okay, bye, something like that. You don't have any more tracking. But if you're going to have like a tracking, more on tracking information that you want to be in one specific single source, I would probably use Microsoft List to track all the information, then more in the approval process. And you could do modification with the views and something like that. So yeah.
That also answers the one of the questions people have asked about Planner, and I don't know, I'm not up to speed entirely on what's happening with the roadmap on Planner, but like repeatable projects. And so that's another thing where you can go, it's easy to go and duplicate a list and the data from the list. So you've got, because you have that historical view of things. So you can track progress of that, but not lose sight of the history there of that plan. But that's especially important if you have, like, okay, you complete that project and then start again on the next project following the same structure, work breakdown structure. And lists is good for that.
That's great.
Well, very cool. Well, so what are some of your other features? So I know you present on it. You talk a lot about Microsoft Lists. What are some of the features that you're most passionate about, or that you love showing people that you can do with lists?
My favorite features in the list is customizing the views of the list, especially the gallery one, the card
Yep.
thing. It's so cute. I don't know why. It's so cool. And then and then because it's already you can customize the view as well as the form of the list. So I usually tend to check the GitHub PNP because they already have an existing template for the JSON formatting that you could use in the form or in the view, which is pretty fun or colorful sometimes, which it makes the business users as well to get more excited about in opening the list, especially if they're um, in their whole day they're just looking to this just blank data information. So now in the list you can customize it, make it like yeah, you can customize anything that you want, and they can easily, especially the colorful, when for example in the status field, if it's rejected it will turn it to red, and then you have this mini icon, the light, something like that.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. And then the other one is showing the show and hide in the forms. Like it's just a simple, if this status field, for example, is rejected, you can easily hide it or not, something like that, which the business user can easily do it compared previously. And then yeah, that's the coolest thing that I've seen in the Microsoft list that I'm I'm happy about it.
Well, I know there's a lot of stuff that's happening. We have Ignite coming up, and there will likely be a lot of new announcements around it. I know we're going to have later this year. We're going to have Mark Cashman on talking about kind of post Ignite. Is there anything on the public roadmap that you're aware of that you're looking forward to, or are you following that along with what is on that list, or do you deal more in the what's real today?
I'm more into what real today because there's a lot of going on in the Microsoft 365 suite, which sometimes it just suddenly like, oh, is this a feature? This is new, it's something like that. So yeah, I'm.
It's,
whatever.
you can get caught up in that whole world of what could be coming down. And I know as MVPs, so and some people that aren't aware, so we do have some a view into what's coming. We have regular calls with Microsoft, and we learn about things before they're announced and generally available. But the danger there is that, one, when people ask questions, if I'm falling too close on that, I have to remember, what can I talk about? What can I talk about? What's public versus what did I just learn about in that NDA call? So we have to be very careful about that, because we want what's coming down from the roadmap, but we have to be very careful. So I tend to also deal with just what's generally available, what's out there, and I will try to not pay as much attention unless it's a feature or group of features that specifically impact my world. I try to I try to
When
just
in
let
doubt, don't say it.
correct. When in doubt, don't say so. So, well, excellent. Well, anything else that you'd like to share about lists? Anything else that people want to find out more about, Microsoft lists? Kind of, where do you generally point them to go get started?
I usually go to aka.ms/lists, or everything is in there. You can see the adoption guide, how to get started, some templates as well. If you want to do some customizing with the views or forms, just go with a PMP GitHub, and just from there you can start.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out your early morning for joining us, and on your weekend. Wow, thank you so much. No
You're
sleeping in
welcome.
you.
Yeah, it is fun. It is fun.
It's always fun doing these, and one, getting to know other people without in the community, out in the community, but also to learn more about other aspects of the Microsoft 365 platform that I'm not focusing on so much myself individually, but to learn more about that. So thank you so much, Anj, for joining me this morning. And of course, to all of you that are watching, please subscribe to Office Hours. That you'll get the notifications. When you subscribe, it means that you'll get notifications, reminders about the broadcast, which happen on the first and third Wednesday mornings at 11 a.m. Eastern. They'll be out there and they'll be on demand as well. And then a couple days later, you'll see a blog post out on the AvePoint blog. So go take a look at all of our past recordings. Be sure to subscribe out on YouTube. And hopefully we'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks, Christian. Thanks, everyone.